that there was an accidental saint named Mary. Can I just tell you, there's a Mary Magdalene. She was one of those people who people assume, you may have heard this before, because when Luke writes the gospel, he talks about this woman who was a prostitute, and then he goes in to talk about Mary Magdalene, and people get it confused and think that Mary was the same woman. Well, she's not really the same woman that Luke's talking about. And so isn't it funny how people try to put stuff on you that's not your issue? Come on now, you wondering right now still, I done moved on this sermon, you still trying to figure out what was wrong with Mary. You done already said what you think her issue is. Child, she probably was out there in the streets. Ma, she was ratchet. And Mark helps us to understand that this is a different woman. He even makes a point to say that she has some issues in her past. See, first I was like, come on now, Mark, you all up in the lady business. Like, was that essential? Was that quintessential to the narrative of the gospel? Did you have to, because you know how we are, we try to sanitize our past and act like we ain't ever did nothing, never crossed nobody, act like we never lied, and maybe that's some of the reason why people don't do church, because when we tell our story of our encounter with Jesus, we leave out the part where I've been wrestling with demons. And Mark says this is an important part of the story. Not just so I can verify historically that this is the same woman, but so that you know that the first person, okay, y'all just missed that. Because if he wanted you to know about theology and ecclesiology and soteriology and theology, he would have said the first person at the tomb was a Pharisee, a scholar from one of the seminaries in Jerusalem, somebody who knew all their stuff. He would have said, you know, the person who first saw Jesus was somebody who was highly educated and could parse Greek nouns and verbs, someone who could make you understand the exegetical format of the text. Now, he said the first person who saw Jesus was a woman who has 7 devils that she wrestled with her whole life. Is there anybody in here who's wrestled with some stuff but still understands that even though I wrestle with some demons, I can still see Jesus? You don't have to be perfect in order for you to encounter Jesus. You don't have to have it all together. Christianity, watch this, began with questionable characters. It is people like me and you who's been wrestling with 1 demon and 2 demons. Sometimes they double. I'm just wrestling with all kinds of stuff. I'm wrestling with lust. I'm wrestling with greed. I'm wrestling with pride. Come on now, don't look at me like that in that tone of voice. Come on now, you know you're wrestling with some stuff too. Everybody in here is an ex something. Everybody's got a past. And what Mark says is that you need to know that, watch this, God's method is just as important as his message. Don't miss that. Don't miss that. Why did he show up to somebody who was smarter than Mary? Why did he show up in a person's life like me who I don't even sometimes have 2 nickels to rub together? Why don't he show up in people who have it all together? Why did he show up in somebody who can make sure that there was some credibility to this? This is a lady who wrestled with demons her whole life. Why did he show up? Because God's method is his message. He shows up to people who've been wrestling with stuff their whole life. And that's me and that's you. Come on now, I'm an accidental saint. I didn't qualify to meet Jesus. And that's what's so powerful about what Mark says about Mary in those days. And I'm almost done because I want to get to this part where we're going to baptize some people. And I want to get to this part, but there's something that you need to know about this story. And that is, in those days, you had to have a certain level of credibility in order to be a witness. I like how Kristen, who's one of our elders here, she's a teaching elder here, she said a couple of weeks ago that in order to be a witness, you've got to be willing to witness people's lives. And I love this because in our day, if you want to put somebody on the stand, watch this, they got to have credibility. They got to be clean. Like as a lawyer, you don't want to put somebody on the stand who got stuff in their past who might cause the jury to question their character. So in Mark's day, they had things that made people credible witnesses. Here's the first thing. Women were not allowed to testify in court because they believed they had no credibility. Watch this. If you were trying to make up a story about a risen Savior, so that you can get everybody to follow it. Why would you include somebody that you know would have no credibility in the court? Because it happened. And I can't get around that and tell you what didn't happen. I got to tell you exactly what happened. Hashtag no alternative facts. Mary was at the tomb. I know it don't look good in court, but it looks good in Christianity. Why? Because she had a past and Jesus showed up in her life. The reason why I have credibility is not because I'm perfect, it's because I've wrestled with some stuff my entire life. That's what this whole thing is about. We are questionable characters that have a message for the world. Mark says, first of all, I can't get around that. This actually happened. If I could make up something that would make this story sound better, I would, but this actually happened. So she didn't have credibility, one, because she was a woman, but the second thing is Mark drops on us her history. We had 3 children, for those who know. My wife and I, we have 3 children, ages 11, 8, 3. What I noticed, and you probably noticed too, is when they're trying to convince you of a story that they're telling that they know is not true, their voice gets higher. You ever noticed that before? Like the worse the lie, the higher the voice. It's like, I did, Cleveland. You know, I can't even get up that high no more. But you know what I'm talking about. The worse the lie, the higher the voice. See, you missed what Mark just did there. Because he didn't choose a voice that had high status in the community. It wasn't somebody who had a high voice, somebody who could say, I've studied this, and we did some forensic work on the tomb, and we swabbed for DNA. No, he didn't choose a high voice. Why? Because the higher the voice, the bigger the lie. He chose, watch this, a low voice to preach a high message. Y'all just missed that. Because some of us need to understand that I'm just an accidental saint. I'm wrestling with some demons. There's some stuff in my past, and Jesus doesn't choose people with high voices. He chooses people who are from the bottom, from the gutters, people who are ratchet, and he turns their lives, and he gives them a high message with a low voice. That's why it's important.